Hi everybody. I just got back from doing the 6,000 mile service on my BMW, and I thought I would kind of go over some things that might be helpful to you. It's not only applies to BMWs, it could apply to your Triumph, it could apply to your Honda, your Yamaha, whatever. The first thing is to look at your rider's manual. This little baby right here. And when I scheduled mine, I looked at the rider's manual to see what was required. And I always call a month and a half in advance because I have to budget these things because I don't have that much money I can just throw out there every month for the different motorcycles. So I call out. I generally get them to tell me what it is, parts and labor, approximate price, give and take a little bit on the bike for the service. And I did this. And on this BMW for this, I was pleasantly surprised. On the BMW, they told me it was going to be $450 parts and labor. So I went ahead and scheduled the appointment about a month out, and I didn't think too much else about it. Looking at the book before I made that appointment, I saw that there was three things that they're going to do: change engine oil and filter, going to sync up the throttle bodies, and check the valves. Okay, check the valves is an important one. I was surprised it's only 6,000 miles, but that's what it is. Well, if you know anything about motorcycles, you know that if you make your appointment like mine was on a today is on a Tuesday, that if I rode the bike in on a Tuesday, then they wouldn't be able to check the valves because the engine needs to be cold. So I actually brought the bike in. They didn't tell me this or remind me this. I brought the bike in on Monday afternoon, and I brought it in, and they looked at me kind of quizzically. They said, "Your appointment's not tomorrow." I said, "Yes, but you're doing the valves." "Oh, that's a good idea that you brought it in because if you brought it in tomorrow, we wouldn't be able to do it." That's strike one. So about 1:30 this afternoon, I called to check on my bike to see how it's doing. Well, the phone rang and rang, went to different people. Some of these multi-brand dealers got, you got a menu that you have to, a phone tree that you have to go through. I went through the phone tree, and nobody picked up. Finally, somebody picked up. It was for they do RV service there, and they transferred me back over to where I was trying to get to. Nobody picked up there, and finally it went to the service manager. And I asked him, I said, he wasn't there, so I left a message, said, please call me back and let me know how the bike's going. Good news is that he called me back in about 20 minutes, and he says, the bike should be done in about an hour and a half, which would make it about 3 o'clock. So I said, fine. I said, do you get the valves look all right? He's going, we don't do valves on the bike at 12,000 miles. Uh, I mean, at 6,000 miles. We'll do it at 12,000 miles. I said, well, unless I looked at the book incorrectly, I left the book on the bike. Would you go out there and take a look at it? And he said, sure, I'll go out there and take a look at that. Well, came 3 o'clock, came and gone, nothing. So I called about 4:30 and says, is my bike done? And they said, yeah, we're just doing the paperwork. We're just, time you get up here, we'll have the bike done. All right. So I go up. So the first question is, I asked them, I said, did you do the valves? Oh yeah, we did the valves. I said, well, I only wanted the valves done if that was required. If it wasn't required, I didn't want it done. They said, well, it's in the book. I said, well, why did your service manager tell me that? Well, somewhere along the line it changed. The service interval used to be 12,000 miles. Now it was 6. So that's strike two. They didn't know that. Here's another thing you always should do is you always should look over that invoice because the amount was it was $723, and they were telling me 450. So I'm going now I've got to really look at this thing close, and I look at it and notice that they had checked off that they in the invoice that they have done the remove and replace uh, the grease, I mean the oil in the rear drive of the bike. And I'm looking at my book, and my book says that doesn't get done to 12,000 miles. So now I'm looking at, now you charge me for something. First, you weren't going to do what was required. Now you did something that wasn't required. I said, that's kind of like strike three. So, and like I said, this can happen at any dealership. It could happen at your dealership. It could happen anywhere. So it's not just a BMW thing. But so I'm sitting looking at it and going, well, this is one, the price is a lot higher than, because I asked, because I have a budget, so I written down how much, because the BMW is going to be $450 and the Triumph was going to be $750. Now here I'm looking at $723. So the service writer went back and talked to the service manager, and they ended up knocking off $84 of it. So I appreciate that. But I think my point was that, you know, and when you're doing these things, you gotta kind of really watch after yourself. You can't just turn it over to and think everybody's going to do the right thing. They're not going to make mistakes, because they do. And I always try to be a good customer. I kind of preach that it's always better to be a good customer, but being a part of being a good customer is also watching out for yourself and knowing what's supposed to be done, and trying to hold them accountable for the time and the cost that they have to explain it to you. And if they can't explain it to you, then they need to kind of go take a step back too. So I hope this helps you out. I don't know. It's just that it can happen to anybody. It's not anybody trying to gouge anybody. It's just mistakes and miscommunications. This is just Dad for today.